Good morning. I'm Larry Williamson, CEO of Agriculture for Life. We are on the summer road trip. Our stop today is Charlotte Lake Farms, sitting in a beautiful field with farm owners Guy and Leona. Thank you so much for having us. I should also mention special guests that are with us out in the field today. So thank you for allowing us to stop in and visit with you today on the farm.
Well, thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome to Charlotte Lake Farms. I'm glad to have you out here.
Thank you. So let's start. So tell me about the farm. Tell me about the history. Has it been in the family for years? Let's start at the beginning.
Sure. So my grandfather came here in 1911. So this year is our 110th anniversary.
Wow.
And so he came with his dad and two other brothers. And he bought his homestead. Signed off that he was 18 years old, but he was actually 15.
Oh, wow.
But he stayed here for a lot of winters, breaking the land, and then he passed away in 1979. My dad took over in 1971, took over the farm, and he passed away 3 years ago. And then we took over in 2014.
Okay. So, and we have, they concur. Absolutely.
Yes.
So we're surrounded by the herd today. Have we always been raising cattle on the farm, or how
Yes.
did we? Yes.
There has always been cattle. Yeah, right from the get-go. My grandfather loved animals. So of course they had horses back then, right? So for breaking land and for feeding, that was their tractor,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like it is today. So obviously it's progressive, and we've seen a lot of change over that timeline. We still have old equipment from back then that even my dad didn't want to let go of. It's still here. And then of course now we have the newer equipment that makes our life a little bit easier
For sure.
every day.
Yeah, for sure. So now you were raised on the farm.
Yeah.
And the handsome gentleman beside you showed up at some point.
Yes.
How did you meet?
I worked for a local applied research association here.
Okay.
So after university, I went to Africa for a few years with CUSO, and then I came back and did some ag research. Ended up here. And then my office was in the MD office here in Town Municipal District. And Leona was their auditor.
Oh.
So we met kind of like in the coffee room or whatever.
There
Yeah.
you are.
So that's where we met.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's 29 years ago.
Yes.
We've been married 27 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Wonderful. So, and do kids on the farm?
yeah. Well, our oldest daughter, she's 23. She graduated from university last year. Not this April, the April before. And she has her degree in animal science, in agriculture, and animal science, like her dad. And she's currently working in the southern part of Saskatchewan, working for agriculture business down there. And she got engaged this past summer.
Oh, congrats.
So the intent is for the next 3 to 5 years that her and her future husband come up and take over the farm from us.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so they'll be our fourth generation.
And then our son is 18, just graduated. He's going to NATE this fall in professional meat cutting, followed by culinary arts degree after that. So his goal or dream is to have a farm-to-table restaurant.
Oh, I look forward to that.
Yes.
Absolutely. So the kids, you're raised on the farm, you're raised on the farms. Farming's in your blood.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh, yes.
Very much
everybody
so.
loves it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many acres do you have here on the farm?
We have about 1,000 acres.
Okay.
And then we own, and we also rent about 300 on top of that.
All right. And is it fully, are we livestock, or are you also doing on the crops?
At first we were crop and livestock, like that's how
mixed.
my grandfather was, and my dad. And my dad loved the crops. My mom loved the cows. So it kind of progressed for when we took over that this equipment was getting quite old, and it was too costly to upgrade and expand in the crop section, so we decided to go mainly into cattle. So we're slowly transitioning to just cattle ranching, and at that point, so we still have a little bit of crop, and that's mainly what we progressed to.
And the crop, I think we chatted a little bit about what you're growing, of course, comes over and then feeds the cattle.
Yeah,
correct.
well, this year we have canola because prices were too good.
Yes.
Usually it's something. It's usually cattle feed, the barley rolls. So.
Okay. Yeah. So now let's talk about the cows. I mean, the stars of the show here, so behind us. And so, how many head do we have on the farm?
This is 160 cows, and then we have calves, of course,
Yes.
and we have 7 bulls, and then we have feeders as well that we grow for our meat program, which is for farm to table.
Yeah.
So that's mainly where our goal has been, is to progress from selling at the auction mart, which is the traditional way of selling cattle most farmers do. We kind of went outside the box and decided that we didn't want our cattle going to feedlots or outside of Canada. The majority of our cattle were actually going to the States. And he and I worked really hard on our genetics and, raising quality beef. And we just felt that it was just not right for us to do that. We wanted our food to stay here in our local community and in the province. And so that was kind of the reason why we transitioned to farm to table. And it was also just to make the farm more successful and more sustainable by doing it that way, trying to keep the profits on the farm. Because as you know, land is really expensive to buy and the costs are only increasing. Revenue is pretty much stayed the same in the last 10 years for cattle. So it has its ups and downs, but really on the average, it's usually around the same.
Yeah. Interesting. So when did you start with the direct sales? Has that been direct to the consumer? Was that right when you took over the farm, or has that been progressing through the years?
It started right away because we had family that wanted meat from us.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of did it. What really kind of cured it on is I noticed that it was always the same buyer buying our cattle at the auction. So Leona kind of cornered him at coffee time. Where are these cows going? Oh, they're going to the States. And every year was the same answer.
Mm-hmm.
So then we said, okay, well, enough of this, because we're working hard, buying, doing our research, increasing the breeding stock and the quality. We need to do something different. And so we figured this is probably the way to go. So we just started slowly letting people know for the first 2-3 years that we're doing this. And then about 3 years ago, we really jumped into it big hard. And said, okay, let's do this. Let's advertise that we're doing this. Let's keep more animals back. And so we decided we're going to try and sell 8 that year, and we sold 12.
Ah.
And then this year we're going to be, I don't know, we're going to be way over that.
Yeah.
So that's what it was all about, was how do we do this? Jump through all the regulatory hoops, the licensing.
A lot of learning.
A lot of learning on our part.
On how the system works, how the red tape, the laws that are in place when you sell food, how you need to ensure you have your handling permits, all the government inspected facilities in place, and finding a good butcher, finding someone that's consistent. Even in feeding our animals, we had to find a way that we knew that was going to end up with a good quality product. So, at first we tried different things, and then we finally found a product, not product, but feed that really consistently had good marbling, but didn't grow the animals too fast, and it was tasty. So that's kind of what, over this past 7-8 years now, that we've come to this point. So now, because we've done open farm days, we've had huge support from our municipality, from Community Futures.
Yes, agree.
Just saying hello.
She wants to be on camera.
Yeah.
So, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. Well,
So
the support of the community.
very much so.
Yes.
And we started doing we did the open farm days last year, which turned out we were just ecstatic with how many people came out. And then this year was just really emotional, how to see all the families and the kids that came out to see where their food comes from. And we had activities and stuff for them to do as well, which really, made them come out and then, see the cows up close and share a little bit of our life, I guess, is kind of what we wanted from them. But we've done a lot of work to get to this point and getting known in the community. And that's the thing, they don't see there's a lot of work in the background, even for selling and calls and.
Farmers always want to be self-reliant.
Yes.
But to sell No, we need to make a web page.
Yes.
And
Yeah, you've got to market.
and you try and develop one. Well, no.
Yeah.
So you got to hire the
Yes.
marketing, and getting the word of mouth to work out, and then constantly contacting customers. How do you like the product? What did you like? What didn't you like? All that kind of stuff. So,
Feedback.
and then bringing them, relating that back to how we raise them. Like,
Yes.
making sure we have a quiet herd. We're quiet, because we decided to go in low stress handling first, all our cattle and all this stuff. And so that, it's just really hard to take that step out that, we can't do this. We need help. We got to hire people, whatever it is. And that's what, and then that was difficult for me,
Yes.
I think for us,
Yes.
because you're always trying, let's do it as cheap as possible. Well, you can't.
Yeah.
You really do have to invest the time and the money into it and get it done right.
Yeah. There is a lot that goes
Yes.
into that. So when, whether I'm buying direct from the farm, I'm going to a farmer's market, I'm going to a grocery store, don't think of buying your groceries as a chore. Think of it as a pleasure, because there is so much passion in those products
Oh, very much.
that you're buying.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yes.
Yeah, like it's definitely a way of life. Like people always say that it's a way of life, but it's a big adjustment from, like for us coming, like when my dad, as my grandfather did, he encouraged his children to further education, to go off the farm and get yourself educated. So find a trade. So with my grandfather, he sent his daughters to university. They got their education and became teachers, as an example. And then my dad went to mechanic school. Back in the day, that's what it was. And then for us, my sister and I went as an accountant. My sister's an RN. And then when it really came down, when he took over, we had those tools, right? And so it's something that was really important, was to continue education. And we do it today. We've done it to our kids as well. There was no question of, am I going to university? No, you are going to university.
Yes.
Or you're going to college, like for Ben. And that's something that we've always encouraged for them to get off farm. Make those connections. That's where you make those relationships and connect with people.
It's a very good point, because, as Guy had mentioned, you're farming, you're raising the cows, you're doing the day, you got to feed and water and do all the chores. And, oh gosh, now I got to put my marketing hat on and my sales hat on and my business accounting hat on.
Yes.
And I think I've said this in all of our visits, is the entrepreneurial spirit behind farming, and it's tremendous. You are everything. You are every
Yes, we
department.
are.
You're working as a family. You're also human resources that have to deal with each other.
Yes.
Right?
That's something definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
We actually get a lot of volunteers. We have a couple big days on the farm. One is our vaccination sorting into pasture groups day, so we get a lot of family to come and help us.
Nice.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we have 15 people on the farm. So it's just not Leona and I anymore.
Yes.
So how to assign duties and trying to find where that person will do the job well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so so
And
that's
the right
how
personality.
and the right personalities and
is also key.
it always starts with the day. Whatever I say to you, don't take it personally today.
Yeah, exactly. I like you, but the cows I really
Yeah.
like.
And that's always the first thing at a safety meeting.
Where do you guys see the future of agriculture? I mean, there's so much change. There's technology, innovation. Let's be honest, we're reading a lot of headlines around the cows, and they're taking a bit of a beating with the climate change and the environment. Crystal ball, what do you guys think? Where do you see, on the cattle side? That's a tough question.
It's a really tough question.
Yeah.
And for us, like farm to table, I think will always be out there. But on the bigger market, I'm not sure where it's going to go. Like I'm a little bit pessimistic, but I guess because I like to be optimistic for the farm, especially for the kids, because the kids are taking over. But it's going to be a real tough sell.
There is a lot of disconnect, I find, between the consumer and the producer. And that has been probably since the very beginning.
And I went to a conference and we talked about this a little bit, is what do we do? The beef commissions and cattle commissions and all those awesome jobs of you budding that stuff, it still stays out there.
The conversation is encouraging for people to learn.
Yes.
You should understand where your food comes from, and don't believe everything that you see or hear. And if something's incorrect, then let's work to correct it and provide that information. Because people are going to have to eat.
But it's very easy to pick on the farmer.
It is.
Because we don't fight that.
Yes.
Right? Like we're too busy to fight that.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
Exactly. Well, you're caring for the animals.
Yes, exactly. we're always considered low class, or, oh, they're just a farmer. But in reality, when you look back, we're feeding the world.
Yeah.
We're feeding you. We're putting food on your plate. And even going back to, we did a little tour at U of S in Saskatoon when our daughter started. And they have a great little area where you walk through time. And it shows you, okay, food costs you so many dollars per your total annual salary.
Yes.
And it used to be 50% of your money that you made went to food.
Wow.
Now it's gone down to like 5%.
Right.
So when you actually look back and consider, food was, you need food to live, you need housing to live, and now our generations have changed where it's the boat at the lake.
Yes.
It's, camping, having toys, things like that have become priority. And then when it comes to food, though, it's like, well, that's way too much money, So I think it's all perspective.
Yes.
I would hope that it would turn as we're doing more education for people, that we're, doing open farm days, showing people where their food comes from. We've had a lot of families want it. Hey, can we come to the farm? I'm like, yes, come to the farm, see how we do things. Learn a little bit, right? But then at the same time, we don't want to bombard them with too much information, so you have to give them in small doses.
Yeah.
But, I would hope that people would definitely try to learn where their food comes from and have a connection to that. That's the biggest thing.
Well, like I say, when I go for groceries, it's I pick something up. I'm like, I have a smile on my face because I think about what's gone into making this product.
Yes.
And there we've seen some shifts. I mean, we've seen in a short period of time consumer shifts and what they're looking for in their food and as we said, now if people are curious and the pandemic opened the door to a lot of people to understand.
Yes.
Whoa, I've gone to the grocery store for the first time and there's nothing on the shelves,
Yes.
whether it be toilet paper, paper towel, flour,
Whatever.
yeast, whatever it was.
Yeah.
We ran out of meat here at Sobeys.
So there you go, right?
That day we did really well. At the
You
farmer's
did
market.
really well. Yes.
So
And do you deliver the product or people come to the farm to pick it up?
we deliver mainly in this area, but if I have enough, we'll go to Edmonton. We've gone as far as Fort McMurray,
Okay.
Cold Lake, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it depends on the
Excellent.
size of the order,
Yeah.
and time,
Yes, of course.
depending on the time of year.
Yeah.
And then we have, right now we're trying to situate ourselves so that we have beef available every month during the year.
Excellent.
The only time is during the month of March, April, and May, because that's calving season, and that's the busiest time for us. So it's just not possible for us to start doing deliveries or making, taking orders and things like that.
Right.
We're always working 14 to 16-hour days during that time. It's
too
just too
hectic.
hectic.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the connection too of the reality of where your food comes from.
Yes.
Well, why can't I have my steak in March? Well, because we're out calving.
Calving.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so
Taking care of the babies.
The other thing which is really interesting is most people understand that the cuts from an animal. So an animal is not all steak.
Right.
They're not all T-bones, ribeyes. There's certain cuts that are gross, certain cuts that are steak, certain cuts that are ground beef. There's no, okay, well, I would like 50% steaks.
Yes. Can't do
and
it.
you
Can't
can't
do
do it.
Yeah.
Like they're just physically, you can't make an animal make more steaks.
Yeah.
If we could do that, that'd be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
We'd be millionaires.
Maybe in the future that crystal ball. Yeah.
But yeah.
But it doesn't
So
work
there's
that
some
way.
education involved, not only just marketing, a lot of education.
Yes,
Yeah.
I can imagine.
What surprised me is how people do not know how to cook beef. At least at our stand, we try to have a little recipe every month or week.
Oh, I love it.
How to make a pot roast or whatever,
Yes.
something simple, right?
And
So-
then to teach them too that it's not an all day long process. Like, for me, it's busy in the morning. Okay, we're going. We won't be back till late tonight. Okay, let's throw a roast in the slow cooker. Toss it in, onion soup mix, and salt, pepper, close the lid, and I'm gone.
Yeah.
And then we come back home and it's ready,
Delicious.
and it's gone in frozen. I haven't taken it and thawed it overnight.
Yeah.
It's put in and go. And so it doesn't take me very long to make supper. And I think a lot of people think, well, I got to take it out. And,
Marinate it for 4
Whatever
hours, put it in the
it is,
fridge.
yes,
Like
yes.
some of the recipes that I go, are
Yeah.
you crazy?
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
we don't
Yeah.
have time for that.
No.
And most people don't.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the education.
Yeah.
Very
Absolutely.
much. Very much.
Right.
So.
right?
Yes, and really, when you look at it, if you look at down the road, our population is growing. Our land base is not growing.
Yes.
So food is very, very important down the road.
Absolutely.
So to me, it will always be very important. We need our little farms to be able to survive, not just grow into this big commercial, big farms that have 200,000 acres. And look what happened with Cargill and GDS. Those meat plants shut down. And
System
food.
stops. Yeah.
So those are things that really have to take into consideration. And we're trying to keep a
Yeah, and this, and you'll choke me up, is Alberta agriculture.
Yeah.
This is, in our farm tour that we have done, this is the passion behind food and bringing food to the table that brings tears to eyes, and we honor you for the work that you're doing, and the 2 to 3 or 4 generations now that are removed from the farm are missing. They're missing out.
yes.
And so it's this is why it's our pleasure to be sitting in your 100-and-some-year-old field, talking to the cows and talking to you guys and learning more about your family.
Well,
And,
just keeping that history, keeping the ties to land, and there's a history there.
Yeah.
Like the sweat and tears and everything that goes into it.
yeah, it's not easy. It is not easy. And it's a beautiful day and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Minus 30? No, I don't want to sit out here when it's minus 30, but you're out here, taking care of the animals.
Yeah.
So now, if someone was interested in getting a hold of you to learn more about, how they can buy their food directly from you, how do they do that?
Well, we have a website.
Mhm.
We also have my cell phone number, which is on almost everything, so they
Okay.
can always call or text.
Perfect.
And then through our website, we have our forms that people can actually fill in and make orders.
Easy.
But the majority of people call or text
Yeah.
through Facebook, Instagram as well.
Facebook's a really popular.
We've tried to get onto those social medias.
Yes.
My daughter's been very helpful
Yeah.
with those social media accounts. Thank goodness for her.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that-
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I knew some, but she knows way more.
Yeah,
than
they're
I
born
do.
with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're born with
that's
a
right.
cell phone. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we thank you again for letting us, visit on the farm
Mhm.
today, and we wish you the best, and we will enjoy our steak dinner
Okay.
and put a smile on our face when we
Yes.
think of you. So,
Oh,
thank
well,
you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for coming
coming
out.